And we are live. So, hi everybody. My name is Junho Kwok, and today we have a very, 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 very special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay. Okay. My name is Vivian. I am 65 years old and I'm a grandmother. And those are my qualifications for being on this show.
And in case anyone out there doesn't know, she is my family pretty much. I think of her as my own grandmother, and she's a very special person to me. And so yeah,
Yeah.
I hope
And
you
likewise.
I hope you enjoy her. So okay, the first question I want to start off with today is sort of like the basic, simple questions. The first question is, what do you want or what would you like to see from our project in the future?
Okay. I'm gonna start off with two illustrations, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. One is from one of my sons when he was like 2 years old,
Mm-hmm.
a toddler. He found a dog bowl in the yard, and the bowl, it was supposed to have water in it, and it was empty. And so he decided he was going to fill the dog bowl.
Okay.
All right. And so he got a little cup, like a little cup. And he went over to, there was a spigot out in the yard. He went to the spigot and he filled the little cup and took it over to the dog bowl and poured it in. And he made trip after trip after trip, filling the dog bowl with this little bitty cup. And so, because I was older and had more experience, I suggested, why don't you take the dog bowl to the spigot and fill it all at once? But he didn't want to do that. He wanted to do it his way. And that's one illustration. I'll get back to it in just a minute and tell you why I told you that. The second thing that I want to say is this week we welcomed a foreign exchange student, a Korean student, into our home. When I was preparing to meet her at the airport, I was preparing a sign with her name on it. And because we lived in Korea for 12 years, and so I knew the Korean characters, and so I wrote it in Korean. And so I was making this sign, and one of my coworkers came and looked at it, and she said, well, how do you know they're in the right order? And I said, you mean the letters? And she said, yeah, how do you know they're not upside down, or how do you know how you're supposed to put them? And I said, well, because I speak the language. I know the language, and so I know how I'm supposed to do it. And so the relationship between those two things is, first of all, communication. Communication gaps exist in a lot of different forms, and there are between my 2-year-old son and myself. There was a gap in communication there. I had more experience. I had more wisdom. I could have filled that dog bowl in a matter of a minute or two, but he took like 30 minutes to do it. I had the tools to be able to help him to do it more efficiently and to get it done more quickly. But he was choosing to do it his own way and ignored me completely. Because he had in his own mind the idea how he wanted to do it.
Right.
The second one talks about, I was thinking about what she said, made me think about the communication gaps that exist between people. And of course, language groups is one obvious one, being able to communicate with people from different countries of origin and things like that. But also, I think one of the most significant communication gaps that exist right now is between the generations, the age groups.
Right.
And a lot of people, in my experience, are kind of like my 2-year-old son. They want to do things their way, the way that makes sense to them. And there might be other people from a different generation that have different background, different experiences, who could really maybe give some suggestions or some input that could be beneficial to them, but they're not interested because they have an idea in their own minds of how it should be done, and they're not interested in listening. And the two generations now, well, if you want to take, for example, Gen X and baby boomers, and even millennials and baby boomers, and like a lot of the media, a lot of the media posts, they have lists of like insults between millennials and boomers.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right? You know, on
Yeah,
their
yeah,
feeds.
yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff going on like that now, you know. And,
Yeah.
and so a lot of people, the boomers and the millennials have this idea about each other, and they talk about each other, but you don't see a lot of people talking to each other.
Right,
and
exactly.
There are a lot of things, I think, that both sides would like the other side to know about them, but there's that communication gap between them. And so many people are more interested in telling their side than they are in listening to what the others have to say. They want the other side to validate them, but the listening part is a big fail right now. And so what I would like to see come out of this project that I believe is brilliant, I would like to see people learn the skill of listening, first of all, and understand that both sides have some really valid perspectives on things, and try to start listening to each other and understanding the fact that your perspective changes the way that you view things, but basically inside we're not that different.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
We have the same things driving us, and the same needs, the same basic human needs, you know, and I think we need to take that into account. And so I would really like to see this as a bridge, building a bridge over some of those communication gaps.
I'm totally in agreement with you, and you did such a good job of answering that first question that I think you answered the second question as well.
So let's just throw out the second.
Yeah. So the second question that I was going to ask is, why do you think it's important for the young and the old to communicate? But you just answered that perfectly. So
sorry,
onward to the next question. No, that was incredible, right? So this is the third and final question that I want to ask. So like I said, this is only a short, quick episode for right now. But the third question is, now that I read the third question, you kind of answered that as well.
Well, let me take just the third question. You said something about just something in general that I want to
you want to tell our age, people. Right?
Yeah, this is what I want to tell you that nobody told me, and I wasn't prepared for it. Okay, when you guys look at us, you see the effects of aging. You see the gray hair. You see the wrinkles. You see the body fat that just accumulates no matter what you do. You know, you see everybody slowing down and thinking slow and speaking slow and driving slow. The thing that nobody told me was that the inside of us does not age like that. I mean, inside, you still maintain that connection to your teenage years, to your youth, to your young adulthood. That never goes very far. Well, okay, when some people, yes, it does.
There's always exceptions.
You have to say that some people, yes, they were born. Yeah. But you still feel young on the inside in a lot of ways. You still think your inside feels like you can still do all of the things that you did when you were young. And your body says, you know, when you try. But a lot of people remember exactly what it felt like to be a middle schooler. We remember exactly what it felt like to be a high schooler, to crush on somebody, you can, all of that stuff, it's fresh on the inside. And I think that if young people realized that, it might help them understand maybe why the old people like talking to them about things that are happening in their lives, because the way the way, well, when I was a teenager, the way I looked at it when, like, my old aunts or parents or grandparents, were butting in and telling me stuff, I looked at it as though they were very, very far removed from my situation and couldn't understand it all. But now that I'm the one standing on their side, looking over, I'm a lot more connected. Maybe I should say emotionally and mentally, not technologically, but in other ways, I'm a lot more connected than they realize that I am. And I see young people going through a lot of things, exactly the same things that I did, and I can pull that up in an instant. And so that's what I want to let people know, is that just because we're old doesn't mean that we have forgotten everything or lost touch with everything. And let's start with that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I honestly, up until like this conversation, I didn't even realize what you just told me, and it kind of does.
Yeah, because nobody ever says it.
Exactly.
Until you know.
Yeah, exactly. And like, even to me, it's like an eye opener, and it kind of makes you think like, what else? Like what else is there? So, anyway, once again, I want to say thank you so much for coming on here. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart.
This is gonna be fun.
Okay. Anyway, thank you to all the viewers watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you'll watch our future episodes which will feature our lovely guest right here.
And I'm lining up some pretty interesting people to come
exactly.
on. I talked with a cowboy this morning, a 67-year-old cowboy who I'm trying to get on here. So yeah.
I mean, Vivian here is an endless source of like fun stories. So stay tuned. This is gonna be so exciting. But yeah, that's it for all viewers. Bye bye.